May 22nd, 2018 meeting of the Marion County School Board is called to order. For the courtesy of those listening to the meeting, I am requesting everyone in the audience, please turn off your electronic devices or put them on vibrate. Later in the meeting, up to 30 minutes will be provided for individuals to address the board on matters concerning the operation of the Marion County school system or the school board only. Presentations to the board are limited to 5 minutes and are televised. If you wish to address the board regarding a regular agenda item or matters on which the board customarily takes action, you must first complete a peach form located on the table in the hallway. If you wish to address the board regarding a public hearing or student discipline matter, please complete a lime green form. These forms must be fully completed and received by the board secretary no later than 5:40 p.m. The procedures applicable for each are on a separate sheet. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Ms. Kelly King, District 5.
Here.
Ms. Nancy Stacy, District 1.
Here.
Mr. Bobby James, District 3.
Here.
Ms. Angie Boynton, District 4.
Here.
Ms. Beth McCall, District 2.
Here.
Dr. Heidi Mayer, Superintendent.
Here.
Mr. Paul Gibbs, School Board Attorney.
Here.
Thank you. This is Judy Zanetti, Public Education Officer. Please introduce the individuals who will be providing inspiration and leading us in the pledge this evening.
Thank you, Mrs. McCall. It's always an honor to be here. Usually I introduce you to adults that are helping our schools and our teachers and our students, and I'm always thrilled to do that. But tonight, we're going to meet two students, two graduates from the class of 2018 here in Marion County Public Schools. To introduce our graduates, I'm going to call up Megan Magamal. Megan is a Take Stock in Children Program Coordinator.
Good evening, Superintendent and school board members. I'm very excited to be introducing two of the students from our graduating class. Take Stock in Children is a program of the Public Education Foundation, and we provide college scholarships, volunteer mentoring, and hope for a better future to deserving low-income students in Marion County Public Schools. I'm proud to say we have 50 students who will be graduating with our program on May 31st. Out of that graduating class, our foundation will be awarding $320,000 to provide 2 years of college tuition for each of those students. So here tonight to share a little bit about their story in Take Stock in Children, the pledge and inspiration, I have Devadrick Ponder from Vanguard High School and Desiree Polk, who's graduating from the Career Academy, and they will both be presenting the inspiration and pledge.
Good evening, school board. I'm Devadrick Ponder, and I graduated from Vanguard High School this past Friday. Everyone could please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I will be continuing my education at Florida State University this summer and fall.
Hello, my name is Desiree Polk. I am 18 years old, a Take Stock student, and graduated from MTI's Career Academy, where I was also allowed to dual enroll at the College of Central Florida. First, I'd like to say thank you for allowing me to share my story with you. I am one of 9 children. I'm the third. All of my siblings live all over the country except for 3. My older brother, who's 23, my younger brother, who's 3, and my little sister, who's 12. My parents are substance abusers as well as dealers, and because of that, my childhood was unstable. I was placed to live with my grandmother at the age of 4. However, she became sick and was diagnosed with throat, lung, and stomach cancer. She sadly passed away when I was 8, and I lost the only parent figure in my life. I was then sent to live with my half-sister and my grandfather. Life was decent for the next 4 years until my grandfather decided to let my parents back into the picture against DCF's wishes. The following 7 years were a huge roller coaster. DCF intercepted a 3rd time and removed my little sister and I from the house. Together we spent 2 weeks in a foster home where we returned back to our grandfather with the condition that our parents stay out of our life. All of this took place while I was in middle school at Fort King. By this time, my messy life had leaked out to my guidance counselor, Keith DeVilling. Despite my struggles at home, I was always focused on school. I used it as my escape from reality. It was the only thing I could control in my life. I was a straight-A student with the occasional B here and there. Mr. DeVilling saw potential in me. One day during my 8th grade year, he and I had a meeting, which is when I was introduced to Take Stock. He explained the importance of this opportunity and the impact it would have on my future. I was excited when I heard the news because I knew I wanted to go to college, but I never would be able to afford it. When I received the news that I had been granted the scholarship, I was ecstatic. I can remember looking up all the colleges and different majors, just trying to see how many classes I could take in order to use the scholarship to the maximum potential. I wanted to take all of them. I was 13 years old. My mind was so bright and full of positivity. The scholarship finally ensured that all of my focus was going to pay off. It gave me a harder drive, a stronger push, and a greater purpose to prove I wouldn't be another statistic. However, that wasn't the end of my struggles. My freshman year, my grandfather took custody of my baby brother when he was 3 days old. Things became very stressful at that point. Money was scarce and our necessities were barely being met. My grandfather had no clue how to take care of a baby, and he barely knew how to take care of me and my sister. I dedicated all of my time to raising my siblings. The first few months were hard. I woke up every 3 hours to feed and change him. Took him to daycare before school, then I went to school, did my schoolwork, came home, helped my sister with her schoolwork, and took care of my brother. I was a little mommy, and all the while I managed to make sure my grades never dropped. I was lucky enough to have a mentor, Stephanie DeVilling, as well as the Take Stock staff to support and encourage me, as well as teaching me time management. My junior year, I was so far ahead in high school I could have graduated a year early, but instead, after many meetings with Ms. Scroggy, the dual enrollment process would be my greatest opportunity cost and would help me cover the cost of college. So now, I graduated from MTI's Career Academy with college credit. Last semester, I finished EMT classes, and I'm now on my way to working for the county as an emergency medical technician. I plan to use my scholarship to help me get through paramedic school and eventually become dual certified as a fire medic. I also plan to get my bachelor's degree so I can obtain a leadership role with the fire department. Thanks to Take Stock, I will not be another statistic. I could have given up at any time with a reason, but I didn't. And one big reason I did this is because of Take Stock and other community leaders for seeing the importance and continuing support and believe in students like me. Thank you to my Take Stock and Children's staff, teachers, counselors, and to Marion County Public Schools, as well as my mentors. I am grateful to have this opportunity and to one day give back to the community like you have given to me. Thank you.
So I'm going to give a little plug here. We are in the process of recruiting mentors for Take Stock and Children right now. I am currently a mentor. Mine graduates this year. Dr. Mayer has just signed up again to be a mentor to help lead these lives. They give more to us than we give back to them. We're so proud of you. Good luck in everything that you do. Thank you. And thank you, Megan Magaball, Judy, for Take Stock and Children. Thank you very much.
I'd like to say something.
Oh, Ms. Stacy and Mr. James, sorry.
And Judy and Megan, there's a lot of people that do things for a lot of kids. But when you do something for one child, people sometimes think that's not a whole lot, but that's everything in the world to that one child. And thank you for all y'all do, because you take the 1, 2, 3, and then we have great young people like this that I know are going to go and just make America a wonderful place. Thank you so much.
Mr. James.
I just want to say congratulations to you guys. And I would like doubly so if you would go back and say to your counselor, because he or she was the person that recognized that talent. I've known Keith DeVilling a long time and the DeVilling family. And I just want to make a shout out to him for the work that he's done over the past few years and the fact that he recognized the talent and he had faith in you. Mr. Ponder, who was your counselor in middle school?
Mrs. Jones. And we had two, Mrs. Jones and then Mrs. I can't remember. Oliver, Miss Oliver.
Okay, it's so important that the connection that the counselors have with Take Stock and Children, because we would miss a lot of kids if they were not on the front line and identifying them. So if you guys get a chance, send them a note and say thank you for a job well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
recommend approval of the agenda for the May 22nd, 2018 school board meeting with the materials in the board packet. Those materials distributed to board members at the meeting and the audio recording included as part of the official record of the meeting.
May I have a motion on the superintendent's recommendation? So moved by Ms. Boynton,
Second.
seconded by Mr. James. All those in favor, please signify by voting aye, and opposed, like sign. Motion passed.
It's voted not present.
Those were not present. Please vote again.
I did unanimous because it was already.
Huh?
I'm marking it again.
Okay, motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the April 5th, 2018 administrative briefing and work session? Moved by Ms. King,
Second.
seconded by Mr. James. Are there any additions or corrections to these minutes? If not, all those in favor, please vote aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion passed 5-0. I don't think that was, Ms. King made the motion.
Okay, I'll change that.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the April 10th, 2018 school board meeting? Moved by Ms. Boynton. Seconded by Ms. King. Are there any additions or corrections? If not, all those in favor, please vote aye, and opposed, like sign.
Ms. Boynton, would you vote?
Did you vote? Motion passed 5-0. Ms. Joanne Crowder, Fine Arts Program Specialist, would like to recognize Jaden Blunt as a student with a tremendous amount of talent in art.
Good evening, Board Chair Ms. McCall, Vice Chair Ms. Boynton, Board members, Superintendent Dr. Mayer, Ms. Martinez-Lopez, Ms. Flockhead, Mr. Gibbs, and guests. This evening, I have the pleasure of recognizing Mr. Jaden Blunt, a third-grade student at Oakcrest Elementary, his art teacher, Ms. Angela Bram, his classroom teacher, Ms. Benita Rogers, principal, Ms. Diane Leinenbach, because Jaden is receiving a special award from the VSA Florida,
And Mrs. Pat York, Regional Program Coordinator of the VSA, is here to tell you more about this award.
Thank you, Joanne. Good evening. I was here not long ago, about a month ago, and it is my great pleasure to be back again in recognition of a Marion County student. And this is one of the best parts of my job. VSA Florida, the state organization for arts and disabilities, sponsors a Student of the Month program, which is designed to increase public awareness and recognize the impact art has on students with disability statewide. Students who participate in the arts develop creativity, have increased self-confidence, understand teamwork, have increased language and math skills. They have fewer discipline problems, and they watch less TV. Our April 2018 Student of the Month is 8-year-old Jaden Blunt. His art teacher, Angie Brom, from Oakcrest Elementary School, nominated Jaden, who she describes as a wonderful and imaginative student. Jaden loves art. His artwork, mostly in simple black and blue ink, is his best way of communicating. She helped him to develop an extensive portfolio highlighting the amazing detail he captures in each piece. She writes, Jaden's art does not come from instruction or examples, but from his own creative mind and heart. It is how he expresses himself, and the detail of his work would shock anyone, especially for his age and learning disability. As a strong advocate for Jaden, his art teacher has submitted many of his pieces to the prestigious Fine Arts for Ocala Arts Festival. Jaden will be receiving a one-of-a-kind personalized sculptured trophy, which was created by John Allen, an artist and owner of Statement 2000 Metal Art, who also has a specific learning disability, is dyslexic and ADD. This is a statewide award, not a school, city, or county award, so this is a big deal. Without further ado, let's go ahead and bring up Jaden, his art teacher, the principal, Diane Leinenbach, his classroom teacher, and his parents, his mom is also here.
Yes, I love your area.
David. Jaden will also be receiving a
Yeah, he is.
Ms. Crowder, do we have any of his artwork that we can see?
On Twitter, but I can also email it to you,
Okay.
to the board members and Dr. Mayer.
What's so impressive is that it's all done in ink. So you can't go back and redo it. It's there, and it's quite spectacular. It's amazing.
I have a whole portfolio of his stuff.
Oh,
From the last 2 years, I have a whole big folder.
nice.
Such a good job, and this is
What a sculpture.
Thank you. Jaden.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Mayer, you have a turnaround school update for us.
Yes, Ms. Beck and her team are here to give another update for you, and I'll just let them take it from here.
Good evening. Good evening, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, board members, Superintendent, Mayor, Ms. Martinez Lopez, Ms. Flockhatter, and Mr. Gibbs. This evening, I have the pleasure of presenting with Mr. John McGowan, our Director of Counseling and Assessment, Holly Gerlach, our Director of Elementary Ed, and Ms. Kendra Hamby, Director of Turnaround Schools and Early Learning. This evening, our objectives are all things connected to academics. So we'll be providing some district academic updates, as well as academic updates connected to our turnaround schools using iReady reading and math data. Additionally, we will share the district academic supports that have been provided to our turnaround schools to ensure increased student performance. This week, all of our schools are finishing their iReady reading and math testing, so data is updating daily. So the information that we will share with you this evening has been updated as recently as yesterday. So at this time, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Mr. McGowan.
Good evening, Board. I have the pleasure of presenting to you district-wide elementary academic data this evening, information in which you will see with the 4 turnaround schools that Ms. Hamby will present in just a few minutes. The information you see is from the iReady Diagnostic Assessment from AP, which is Assessment Period 1 to Assessment Period 3. These graphs you see here, and for the math that I'll show you in the next slide, were manually averaged using all of the data from our elementary schools. This format probably looks familiar. It's the same information that was presented in the elementary school quick fact sheets that you have previously received as well. I want to just, before I kind of get into the data, I want to remind what we're looking at, and this is the end of the year view. If you remember from previous presentations, iReady has different views in which you can look at the data. Beginning of the year view, mid-year view, and then end of the year view. End of the year view is considered the most stringent, if you will, or most accurate, because it looks at where a student is at if they were at the end of the school year. So if we look at, this is reading data from AP1, you will see K through 5, again, these are district averages, and what we're looking at is percent of students with their performance considered on grade level. So we're not looking at student growth necessarily, but performance. Where are they at on grade level as determined by the diagnostic assessments? So if we look at AP1, which is on the left-hand side of the slide, you will see the green, the yellow, and the red. The green represents students that, again, this is end of the year view, so the green represents students that are considered on grade level or above grade level, which means they are, to be on grade level, it's middle of the year or end of the year, or above grade level. Yellow represents students that are at the early part of their current grade level or up to 1 year behind, and then red is 2 or more years behind. So if we were to look at all of our students in August using end of the year view, I'll take second grade for example, 13% of our students were considered on or above grade level in August. So that would mean they, as soon as they walk in the door in August, they're performing at the middle of that grade level or higher. If we compare to AP3, which as Ms. Beck alluded to, we are currently finishing up those assessments now. If we compare it to grade 2, we're at 40, meaning that 40% of the students at this point, for those students who have tested, are middle to late of this year or above. That does not necessarily mean that if a student, well, what it represents here with the color is yellow means that a student could technically be on grade level, but if they're on the early side of the grade level, because we're using end of the year view, they're in yellow and not green. If we were to use a different view, such as middle of the year view, it would show green. So that's just a brief synopsis of how the end of the year view works. So you can see the growth between August and now with all of our grade levels, with our students being on or above grade level, and in terms of the students that are more than 2 years behind, reducing that number.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
All right, so tell me in 1, 2, and 3 what this means. Like, green is level 3.
Right, well, yeah, in terms of tier, yeah, tiers 1, 2, and 3. So green would be tier 1.
3 or above.
I think
Tier 1.
she's talking about
I'm talking about proficiency,
Like
like
if you
the
did
way
it-
the FSA does it.
It's a little bit different in terms of how this data is being presented.
Okay.
It's not really apples to apples in comparison to being proficient.
Okay.
We'll see. I mean, it could be. We'll just have to see how this kind of compares once the FSA results come out. We'll see if there's any correlation to that. But this isn't specifically showing that if they're in the green or the high yellow, that they'll be proficient.
Okay.
Although, like I say, it may, depending on how,
Okay.
how the
Thank you.
comparison
I'm sorry, I
comes
just
out.
wanted to make sure I had it right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So this is just math, AP1 versus AP3. Again, you can see the growth from the beginning of the school year until now. With, again, if we take grade 2 as an example, 38% of all of our students in the second grade are, mid to late or above at this point in the year, and we've increased that and decreased the red, which is what we want to see. Again, this is really looking at performance of students as determined on grade level. It doesn't mean that students aren't growing academically. So if we were to take a student, if we look at second grade, 7% of our students, it's saying they're 2 more years behind. That doesn't mean they're not growing, though. They could have started the year 3 years behind, and so it'll take time for those students. It may take more than 1 year to get on grade level. So there is a difference between the performance as compared to grade level versus growth. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Hamby, which will review the same information with you with our 4 turnaround schools.
Thank you, Mr. McGowan, for sharing that district data. And just like Mr. McGowan said, I'm going to be sharing the reading and math data, and I'm going to share it in alphabetical order. So we'll start with Evergreen like I usually do, and I'm going to be sharing the same type of graph, so it looks very similar that he shared with the district data. So this is going to be showing the growth from AP1 to the most recent assessment, which was the 3rd assessment period, which was just recently done, and these numbers were taken, like Ms. Beck had said, from yesterday. So I'll just be sharing a few highlights. So that we're starting with Evergreen's reading. And first, let's take a look at the number of students that were on grade level in reading at the beginning of the school year at Evergreen Elementary School, especially in the primary grades. For example, there were only 4 students on target entering kindergarten, and now there are 63 students on grade level during the 3rd assessment period, which is an increase of 94%, which is wonderful. If we look at math, there are similar trends. Look at the growth in the primary grades during the recent 3rd assessment period in iReady. As you know, laying the foundation in the primary grades is essential. Let's take a look at the upper grades on this slide. For example, in 5th grade, the percentage of students on grade level did not increase drastically as the numbers did in the primary grades. However, let's keep in mind how many students in the upper grades began the school year 2 or more years behind, which is what Mr. McGowan was explaining about the red bar lines. These numbers are represented in the red bar graph. And as you look at those red bar lines, it's worth noting that the number of students in grades 1, 3, and 4 who were 2 or more years behind decreased in half. For Greenway, as you can see, Greenway had significant gains in reading. Amazingly, the year began, with the exception of 4th grade, with only having a single-digit number of students that were on grade level. This trend of seeing a significant impact in the primary grades continues in the top schools, you'll see as we share the data. Dr. Mayer's Early Learning Initiative emphasizes the importance of building a strong foundation in the primary level. Closing the gap in the early helps students have a strong foundation in reading, which can positively affect all subject areas, as well as promote success in the upper grades and in years to come. When we look at math for Greenway, Ms. North and the principal at Greenway Elementary, her strategy of reviewing the data notebooks and implementing what she referred to as target time has made a difference in math as well. Look at the amazing gains of students on grade level between AP1 and AP3. For example, so I'm looking at the green bar graph. For example, take a look at grade 3. There were no students on grade level at the beginning of the school year, along with 40% of the students in the red bar graph for 3rd grade that were 2 or more years behind. But by the end of the school year for 3rd grade, look, 51 students in grade 3 are on grade level, or only 11% of those students are 2 or more years behind. That's amazing, amazing growth for Greenway. And like I said, she really had an emphasis on having them turn in data notebooks, was looking at the data, and also having that target time where they were zeroing in and using those iReady toolbox resources to really differentiate where the students' needs were. Next, Oakcrest for reading. As Ms. Leinenbach shared it earlier in the school year, when they were here for a work session, the students at Oakcrest Elementary began the school year significantly behind. For instance, there were less than 7 students per grade level on grade level to begin the school year. Take a look at the red bar lines for AP1 that represent the students that began the school year 2 or more grade levels behind. There's a significant number of students years behind at the start of the year, especially at the upper grades. Look at those bar graphs, the red lines on AP1. Looking at the recent assessment period 3, you can see that the number of students 2 years or more behind decreased significantly. The math data for Oakcrest is similar to the reading. In every grade level, there were less than 2 students beginning the school year on target. And you can see that in the green bar graph on AP1, the one on the left. Let's look at 3rd grade. 53% of the students in 3rd grade were 2 or more years behind, and no students were on grade level at the beginning of the year in 3rd grade. But now look, 48 students moved grade levels, either to be on grade level or moved out of red, meaning that they're no longer several years behind. Waimea Park, their reading at the beginning of the school year, you can see that Waimea had less than 5 students at each grade level that was on target, with the exception of 3rd grade that had 10 students. Students in grades 1 through 5 were significantly behind, as indicated on the red bar graphs. Ms. Baxley and her team tweaked the master schedule to maximize instructional time and also the expertise of not only her instructional staff, but also her non-instructional staff. Take a look at 2nd grade, how the students on grade level increased from 4 students to 23, and the number of students 2 or more years behind decreased from 42% to 10%. The students' growth in math also is impressive for Waimea Park Elementary School. At all grade levels, kindergarten through 5th grade, less than 3 students per grade level were on target to begin out the school year. There were significant gains at every grade level, and I want to give a special shout out to grade 4. Look at their gains in grade 4. Let's look at the bar graphs, the red bar lines again, representing the students at the beginning of the school year that were 2 years or more behind, with the exception of 1 grade level. If you look there, kindergarten. Look at kindergarten. There were no students that began the school year years behind. So I must give a plug again for Dr. Mayer's Early Learning Initiative. Students are having the opportunity for developmentally appropriate practice in pre-K classrooms, which is better preparing our students, not only academically, but socially. Most importantly, the students are beginning their educational career with a love of learning, which will take them through all the grade levels years to come, and also will help them in every content area. So as you can see, there's been significant gains at the turnaround schools as a result of hard work of the whole staff at each one of the schools. So next, Ms. Gerlach is going to share some examples of how the district has also supported the turnaround schools.
Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Mayer, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, Board members. It's my absolute pleasure to stand before you this evening and discuss just some of the high-level views in terms of things that we have afforded our schools, and more importantly, what we continue to work on as we continue this iterative nature of work that we are continuously working through. So the first one being leadership and decision-making. We wanted to ensure that we are supporting our school-based administrators, knowing that they are the leaders at these school sites. So whether it is late night phone calls, text messages, school site visits, we really wanted to make sure that we were available and that we were supporting them in whatever possible way, whether it was through our administrative chats, whether it was going out and problem solving as a leadership team. We really wanted to make sure that we were doing whatever it is possible to support them as they lead their school through these transformative changes. Also, when we look at the piece of curriculum and instruction, it's really important to understand the nature of that work, knowing that while we at the district level help and support to develop the curriculum, knowing that our Florida standards dictate the way of work, it's really significant to notate the heavy lifting that happens in terms of instruction. These teachers are amazing individuals, and they go above and beyond to support our students on a daily basis, as indicated by the data. When we look at the data, it's important, I'm going to refer back to something Mr. McGowan and Ms. Hamby said, of we have these kids virtually in an academic year, which really equates to about 10 months. So in a feasible situation, you would be making 1 year's worth of growth. The fact that we are remediating so many deficits and getting a lot of those red lines to shift just shows the amazing work that these teachers are doing. So as we look at our instructional practices and continue to refine our content and pedagogy, we want to continue to enable and to support whatever it is that they need to be successful in their classrooms. So some of the initiatives that we continue to move forward is that teacher empowerment piece. We're listening, we're taking their suggestions and opinions and really making them a organic part of this process as they come to work with us, give us suggestions and feedback, and really advocate what it is that they need to continue to be successful as we want to continue this momentum. The next piece also being with that human capital support. I think it's important to acknowledge that while there are wonderful teachers doing great things as administrators, but we also have amazing non-instructional staff, as well as all of the other individuals that contribute collectively to our schools, from our wonderful bus drivers that get our kids to school every day, and looking at even our cafeteria workers, giving them healthy and nutritious meals so they can think and learn and be ready. So when we look at this piece, we really wanted to make sure we were providing professional development and learning opportunities that we can really support and have that continual growth process. So depending on the school site in which we're referencing, each needs were different, as they should be, because each school site has unique things that they're all specifically working on. So as we continue once again in this way of work, we're just once looking at what is it that you need to be successful, and how can we continue to not only support in a fiscal capacity, but more importantly in terms of time and human personnel. Last but not least, and probably most importantly, the student support aspect. From community engagement to mentoring to being involved within classrooms, we wanted to ensure that any time that we have the availability, that we're making ourselves boots on the ground, that we're in these schools, and that we are visiting and supporting however it is that we need, and whatever the needs arise, that we are there and we are able to support them however it is that they need to be. So as we continue in this way of work and how we are continuing through this transformation, we are encouraged and we are excited for the opportunities that lie ahead, as we know that there's always room to grow, and we look forward to doing that in full conjunction with all of the different stakeholder groups. So I'm going to reference something that Mr. James actually said that resonated with my soul several weeks back, and you mentioned people of goodwill. And that spoke to me, and I would like to once again just reconfirm our commitment as a elementary education department, along with my wonderful colleagues, that we truly intend to be people of goodwill and give these school-based administrators, these teachers, and most importantly, these students and families, and serve our community as best as possible. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Ms. Jennifer Beck to close us out.
All right. And this concludes our end of the year academic updates. At our next board meeting, we are going to be presenting our fourth quarter quick fact sheets. So what you will be presented with is all elementary, and we are providing middle school. So please, if you still have your binder, bring your binder, and we'll give you lots to add to it. At this time, if you have any questions, we would be happy to answer any of those.
I have a question for Mr. McGowan, I think. Growth. Okay, you mentioned that this is growth, or it would not count as growth for the students. And why I'm asking this is I'm looking specifically at Evergreen, and I know that I think there was some concern when the decisions were being made that they wouldn't have, what was it, the 3 areas of growth? Show the 3 areas of growth. Is that correct? When we were talking about the growth at that
In terms
piece
of
of
the
it?
school grade?
Of the grade.
Okay.
Okay, and then I'm looking at this, and so I see growth, and so I'm just, in my mind, I'm trying to figure out what growth, and if there's that possibility, because I'm rooting for Evergreen. So,
I am too.
what are your thoughts on
Well,
that?
it shows growth as a whole. it is a report that looks at student performance, but as you can see, it shows overall growth as a whole from the first diagnostic to the last diagnostic. But it's not specifically observing growth, as there are other reports in the iReady system that we could look just at that. Does the diagnostic assessments, can it show both? Yes. And we can look at reports that show down to the student. It provides them with a growth target based on their grade level, and it shows if they've met that growth target and if they have not, from AP1 to AP3. So can the system as a whole show growth? Yes. Just what I was referring to tonight doesn't show down to the student level of growth, but this is just overall as a whole. But yes, we are seeing that as well. Just as we've seen from AP1 to AP3, whether at the district level or at the four, schools that were just highlighted, you're seeing that growth, and we're seeing that at the student level as well.
Okay, so I know this is just a predictor. So when you can pull up that report, does it look as if Evergreen is going to be able to show growth in their from last year to this year? Can you? I know it's just a predictor, and
I would say overall, with from what we're seeing with each of the four schools, they are showing that it would be an improvement over their scores last year.
Thank you.
And that is, again, using the iReady system, and like I mentioned to you at a former work session, I believe, is that we'll see the accuracy of it. If the accuracy turns out to be, true, then we'll know going forward. But it does appear that there'll be growth. Whether, it's enough or not, obviously I hope so as well, but a little too early to tell.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Jones?
No, I'm comfortable with it. Y'all notice I said comfortable, Ms. Beck? You notice I said comfortable now.
I did hear that.
And when I say comfortable, I'm still looking for that thing that say I was here yesterday and I'm here today. And I know at the end, I'm looking at the growth that you're seeing. But every time I see these numbers, I'm always interested in how much growth that is taking place, and how close are we to our objective. Because we can say growth, but if the objectives is still down there, I want to know how close we are to them. So I'm looking forward to the next one when I know that we will be at the point where I can see. We'll get some numbers back from Tallahassee or wherever we get them things from. And then I'll know where we are and if we're making some progress.
And I think what will be interesting is now that we have gone district-wide with iReady, so what will be nice is to be able to do a side-by-side comparison, AP1 to AP3 growth, and then I get what you're saying in that third column, then putting up our FSA scores, then to look at the correlation. And again, I expect that there will be a fairly close correlation, but we'll see that when our district numbers come in. And the one thing that was not mentioned in tonight's presentation that I do want to make you aware of is that we have summer opportunities going on for our turnaround schools for every single child at those turnaround schools. And what I mean by that is through Ms. Gerlach's department, we have the third grade summer camp. We also, at many of our sites, will be hosting VPK. We have 21st Century, but that does not pick up all children. And so really at Dr. Mayer's request and her leadership, she really challenged us to do something for those students. And so we are creating an iReady summer camp where students will have the opportunity 2 times a week to come up for a short period of time to work on iReady. More importantly, to get assistance from a teacher, and they will also be fed when they come up to school. So we are looking forward to that. Our principals have been promoting that. Mr. Livingston told me he announced that at all of his award ceremonies that have been taking place. And so know that as you are out in the community, if we have a student at a turnaround school, we have something that we can offer to those students this summer, okay? Thank you.
Okay, one of the things that I wanted to say now, I'm looking at the dots beginning to connect, with the outside sources we're bringing in. But I'm also looking for how these dots going to connect with Howard Academy, and how we can get to those kids that can get over to Howard Academy to connect with this program. because when I look at the opportunity that we have at Howard Academy, I look at the fact that we really could take advantage of the actual placement of the school, and those kids living in that particular area could utilize that. And I'm also looking at the fact that we put the community and development person under Title I. And I want to see how that piece play into what we're doing. Because if they're community development, they shouldn't be, and it's a 12-month job. I want to see what we're doing with what they're doing over there to get those kids, or get that community involved in getting those kids over to Howard Academy, or get the community involved with those schools that are in that area. And I guarantee you, the majority of those kids at some point will interact with what is occurring at Howard Academy. I bet you they either go by that school or they do something. And I want to see how these things connect now. And I'm looking forward to us getting to talk about our outside provider in a few minutes, and we'll talk about that. And I would like to see those connections. I'm comfortable, but I'm not there yet. I just want you to know.
I'm going to take comfortable for this evening, Mr. James, and we're going to keep working.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
His idea of connecting with Howard Academy, that's
I love that idea.
idea.
Mhm.
So let's
I love that.
see what we can do because there are a lot of kids over there at Parkside and everywhere, and they're at that school. So that's a great idea.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you very much, Ms. Beck and your team. I will now ask the school board's attorney to explain the rules governing persons who wish to address the school board tonight.
Good evening. In compliance with Section 286.0114 of Florida statutes, the school board has adopted uniform procedures for public speakers who wish to speak at tonight's meeting, either regarding one of tonight's agenda items or a matter relating to the operations of the school district. These procedures will ensure the public has a reasonable opportunity to be heard on school board and school district matters. A written summary of these procedures is available from the table in the hallway. Public speaker forms are also located on the same table. The completed forms were due to the school board secretary no later than 5:40 p.m. Tonight's speakers will be called prior to the business portion of the school board's meeting in the order of receipt by the school board secretary. Before you begin speaking, please state your full name and address for the record and spell your last name. Each speaker will have 5 minutes of time. However, if there are 5 persons who wish to speak, the board may seek consensus to limit each speaker's time to 3 minutes. When the speaker has 1 minute remaining, the speaker will receive a visual notice to complete his or her comments. Speakers may not yield their time to other people. Speakers and meeting attendees are expected to conduct themselves in a respectful manner. Therefore, verbal attacks and profanity are strictly prohibited. If there are matters dealing with student discipline, including expulsions, they will be scheduled at the conclusion of the televised portion of this meeting. Parents may address the board regarding a discipline matter at that time. To ensure student privacy, only a parent or guardian may use a student's first or last name. Identifying references to or identification of other students and/or their families are also strictly prohibited. Thank you for your attention to the board's requirements.
Thank you. Board, due to the number of individuals requesting to speak this evening, I am requesting consensus to limit the time to 3 minutes per speaker. Have consensus?
How many speakers do we have?
We have 7?
Seven, and
7.
one off televised.
I don't know. If we've just got 7, I don't think that's,
3 minutes.
Some of them on the same.
huh?
Any of them on the same?
A lot of them are on the same topic. 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay? Thank you. First speaker.
Sean Forte?
My name is Sean Forte, and did you need my address as well, or just
We need your address.
address? 1814 Southeast 34th Lane in Ocala, Florida, 34471. Board, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with you tonight. It's been over just a month since the shooting took place on the campus of Forest High School. While time and distance removed from this tragedy has brought healing and perspective and much evaluation from faculty and law enforcement, I feel as a parent my specific concern seems to have gone unaddressed. And given the devastation tragedy that took place in Texas this last week, I feel a renewed sense of urgency to bring these matters to your attention. As you know, on Friday, April 20th, 2018, an active shooter gained access to Forest High School, sending fear and concern throughout its campus and every campus throughout our county. I'm extremely grateful that not one life was lost from what could have been a devastating and tragic outcome. I'm also grateful for God for his protection and for the selfless act of the Forest staff, faculty, and every first responder who cared for our students that day. Although I'm extremely grateful for the final outcome, I would like to address my concern as a parent. As the shooter gained access to the campus, he shot his gun into a classroom door, wounding one student. Across the hall, a teacher heard the noise, opened her locked classroom door, and saw the shooter with his hands up and a gun on the ground. I can't imagine the emotion, the uncertainty, and the adrenaline she encountered when she had to make a split-second decision on what to do. However, instead of following the training she received to lock and secure and barricade her classroom filled with students, she confronted the shooter and led him into her classroom. Again, this classroom was filled with students, one which was my son. The shooter could have easily been pretending to surrender in order to gain access to a locked room and continue to cause harm. He could have had additional firearms or explosives. There could have been other shooters working together trying to gain access to other locked classrooms. These were all uncertain outcomes at the time. As the shooter was being escorted into the classroom full of students, the students began to react, picking up their chairs, ready to fight as they were trained to do, ready to do whatever they had to do to survive. Now face to face with an active shooter, they watched as he removed ammo from his tactical vest as well as a knife. And for the next 3 minutes, which seemed like 3 hours, each student was unsure of their future. No one is truly prepared to handle this type of situation, but it's my opinion that the Alice protocol established to protect the students was not followed and could have ended in major devastation. Again, I thank God that it didn't. My concern is that I've only heard this teacher celebrated as a hero, and my question is, what steps will be taken to educate all the teachers and staff in Marion County that her actions should not be followed, and no one, especially a teacher supervising students, should confront an active shooter and then bring a shooter into a classroom full of students. I'd also like to request that additional Alice scenario training would take place so that every teacher had the opportunity to not just hear how to handle these situations, but actually work through live scenarios, building confidence in their actions and help them be better prepared. Additionally, I see great merit in having safety checks randomly set up in schools to see how long it takes a non-student to gain access to the campus. I'll finish with this. Thank you for your time, for caring for our students and families throughout Marion County. Please know I'm praying for you that God will continue to give you the wisdom and the ability to lead our schools in a strong, safe, and productive way. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Nicholas Rivera.
Nicholas Rivera, 10617 Southeast 52nd Avenue, Bellevue, Florida, 34420. Good evening. I'm Cadet First Sergeant Rivera. Thank you for taking the time to review our school, Marion Military Academy. I originally came to Marion Military Academy due to my interest in joining the military after high school. Another huge advantage to our school is that it's tuition free and it's a high school and it's military, which is very hard to find in Florida. In fact, Marion Military Academy is the only tuition free high school that is military. Another military school that can be found in Florida is Sarasota Military Academy. However, their tuition is estimated at $30,000 a year. That is really hard for families to pay, and so a tuition-free choice was our school, and that seemed like the best bet for myself. Marion Military Academy is a non-disciplinary school, unlike other military schools. So that is a very big step in our school, and over the past year, we've definitely taken steps to make sure that we are known as a non-disciplinary school, and we're just a school that's here to make better leaders and prepare cadets for their future, whether it be college or the military, not just the military. Being small has many benefits for our schools. One of the biggest benefits are small classrooms. This is what attracts a lot of our cadets to our school, and it's a very big advantage for us. We have currently a 15-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio, and so there's a lot more one-on-one time with your teacher, and so you're able to learn more, in my opinion, when you're in a setting like that than when you're in a classroom of 20 to 30 kids. Another advantage of being a small school is we're really close. We're like a family. I don't know another school where our principal can go out and just look at a kid's face and know his exact name every time. I know Mr. Decker go out there and pick out students and have a tidbit of information on them. He knows every single student. And that's pretty rare to find in a school, and that's something that I really enjoy about our school. Us being a family also means that every time someone has a birthday, even an administrator, as a formation, we all bring that cadet or administrator up to the front of the formation and we sing happy birthday. I found that very cool of our school to do, and it shows that everybody's special and nobody's left out. And I feel like that needs to be something that's brought up more in schools now. A cadet earlier in the year had a house fire. This one.
This one didn't want to come off.
Charles Roloff.
Charles Roloff, 5611 Southwest 117th Lane Road, Ocala, Florida. Good afternoon. I'm Cadet Command Sergeant Major Roloff, and today I would like to talk about Marion Military Academy and the unique opportunities that we have. We try to help the community as much as we possibly can. We volunteer as much as we can. We help wounded veterans, Purple Heart ceremonies. We carry colors everywhere we can. We go to baseball games. I believe that for the high schools, the middle schools, and the elementary schools, I feel like for these kids to grow and develop, they have to be active in the community. And I feel like we, as a school, are active. We had this year, we had a service learning project where we brought in canned food, non-perishable food items, and we stored them in a food pantry, and we created food baskets. And then for next year, the service learning project we are doing is, what we're going to do is we are going to adopt a platoon over in foreign countries, and we're going to create care packages, and we're going to send them over to them. And I feel like when you do things like that, it really shows the positives in the world that we have. Because in the world today, we have all these school shootings, people dying, terrible things, terrible. And when you can bring to light the good in the world with community service and helping people out, that's what we want to get to. And Marion Military Academy, we're a family. We know everyone. I know everyone's face. I know everyone's name. We're a family. We treat each other respectfully. We are bully-free. We're a family. And I feel like if we can get the rest of these public schools to basically follow the same footsteps and follow the same pattern that we have, then we could create great in the world and progressively bring it throughout the rest of the counties in Florida, throughout the rest of the United States, throughout the rest of the world. And then we can have a peaceful world. That's a lot to ask, I know, and that's bold to say, but we can have a peaceful world eventually. And I feel like community service is one great opportunity to do that. You help, you see the light in the world, and honestly, it makes you feel good about yourself, that you can help 96-year-old wounded veterans get their medals that they didn't get 72 years ago. Things like that, those make you feel like you are important, and that's one thing that I feel a lot of these people that shoot up schools and things like that, I feel like they're left out in their schools. Here, we don't leave anyone out. Like Rivera said, everyone's birthday is acknowledged. Everyone's acknowledged. Everyone's name. We try to leave no one out and no one is bullied. You see all these school shooters, you see why they did it? They were bullied in school. The teachers picked on them. They were left out. They weren't accepted. They had no friends. Everyone's friends at our school. And if we could get the rest of the county to do that, the problems in the world would be solved. The kids are the future. Thank you.
Hannah Fultz.
Hannah Fultz, 5726 Northeast 166 Terrace, Silver Springs 34488. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank you all for coming tonight. I am Cadet Captain Foltz, and when I first had the opportunity to come to Marion Military Academy, I didn't want to. My mom told me that MMA could be a good potential learning spot for my future that I want. I am a leader now. The leaders that we had last year did not perform their duties, and it was left up to the leaders' subordinates to step up and fill the job requirements that we needed for the job. I can honestly say that every individual in this school is treated equally and no one is left behind. This school has improved tremendously throughout my 3 years. We had lack of structure and communication throughout the academy. From my sophomore year to my junior year, we had noticeable increase in the way that the academy has been run. These changes have affected me and the people around me because we all stick together and work as a team. Especially when something needs to be done, we don't leave anyone behind, not one person. Before I attended this academy, I was disobedient and very immature. I didn't want to succeed in anything. The start of my junior year, I had a successful path for myself and nothing held me back. I became a leader of this academy and set higher standards for myself and my school subordinates. I wanted to work harder to help the Swamp Fox Battalion stick together as a whole. Marion Military Academy is a bully-free high school. We take the bullying policy very seriously. Due to the fact that we are a small school, we hear about cadets being bullied, so we solve the problem quickly. Our school is the only high school in Marion County that has not received any violent threats. Our school is still improving to put better leaders out to society, and I wouldn't want to go to any other high school. Thank you, everyone, for your attention and your time.
Dylan Swiderski.
Dylan Swiderski, 1513 Northeast 31st Place, Ocala, Florida, 34479. Good evening, everyone. My name is Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Dylan Swiderski. I am the Battalion Commander for the Swamp Fox Battalion. I would like to sincerely thank you all for coming and showing the support for the school that you have shown in the past couple years. I am glad I enrolled into this academy, and I have come a long way since. So just let me start by saying this. Family to me is everything. In the words of a previous battalion commander who I really look up to, his name is Zachary Boggs, he said, we're all a family. And I can tell each and every single person in this academy by the way they walk and the way they talk. But that's not all that this academy has improved with, is their family aspect. We have a 1.5 to 1 computer to student ratio. Our teacher to student ratio is 18 to 1. Not only is this an advantage for every student in the academy, but it's also an advantage to me. It's an advantage to the other students. It's an advantage to my leadership. Everybody in this room, or the cadets that know who I am, know that I have worked for straight 4 years for this position. This position has come very hard, but yet it has also been a slow and moving process. The academics that I have learned have far improved me more than whenever I was at a public school. In fact, whenever I was at a public school, and I hate admitting this, but I would skip school. I would get into fights, and I wasn't the best of students. Actually, my mom forced me to go to Marion Military Academy, where I kicked and screamed. I did not want to go. Actually, a month in, they put me into my first leadership position, where it completely changed my mind about the academy. My grades went from D's and F's to A's and B's. I started improving. I started noticing change in myself. I stopped skipping school, and I started doing good. My parents slowly started to gain their trust back into me that I had never had in them before. Not only this, but we have many plans for next year and many programs we are trying to start. One of many is career paths such as culinary arts, aquaculture, law enforcement, and homeland security. This will allow other cadets that will help them in their future job and develop skills that will help them in the future. Not only this, but we will also have a new elective, 4-H. Essentially, 4-H is agriculture. We are including many teams, which is swim team, drill team, raiders, orienteering, color guard, all of which we are extremely competitive in. While other schools are cutting programs, we are adding. Our school has gotten better, and it will keep getting better. Nothing will change my opinion about the school. This school is my home, this school is my family, and everything about this school makes me happy. Thank you for your time.
Cynthia Raffield.
Thank you for listening to My name is Cynthia Raffield. My last name is Raffield. I live at 8 Hemlock Radio Loop. And I just want to say thank you for allowing me this time to address the board, and good evening. This weekend I had the immensely proud pleasure of getting to watch my daughter graduate with highest honors from Forest High School. It was a beautiful graduation ceremony. You should have been there. No, really, you should have been there, Miss Stacy. It's one of your 2 high schools, after all. I suppose you had better things to do than to applaud the young men and women in your district who worked so hard to achieve the successes that they did. I don't know why you didn't attend, as you have always in the past. Maybe you were too busy figuring out how to keep pressure on the district school swamp, as you put it, to make it to the spur-of-the-moment event. I do want to take a moment to thank you, though, Miss Stacy. Thank you for sending Beth McCall as your replacement. Some may even be inclined to say an upgrade. It was a great pleasure having Ms. McCall there. With at least one young man on the autism spectrum who was graduating, it was nice to know that on such an important day, he didn't have to be subjected to the presence of a person who would use someone's diagnosis.
I can't.
Okay. You guys have a wonderful night. Voters will be paying attention, including 472 new ones that graduated.
Christy Pittman.
Hello, my name is Christy Pittman, Pittman. My address is 4336 Southeast 26th Terrace Road, Ocala, Florida. Hello, my name is Christy Pittman, and I'm a proud parent of 3 Forest Wildcats. Matthew Pittman, who graduated in 2015, is valedictorian. Skylar Pittman, who graduated on Saturday, is salutatorian. And my youngest daughter, who is Chase Pittman, who is a freshman. I stand before the board today, not with a complaint, gripe, or whine, but a blessed heart filled with complete appreciation for Forest High School. With graduation fresh on our minds, I'd like to thank Dr. Heidi Mayer for her heartfelt words of wisdom for our graduates. It was very, very inspirational and touched us all. I want a special very thanks to Beth McCall for attending our Forest graduation. It was truly meant the world to the Forest staff, administration, and parents that you would make us a priority for your very busy schedule. Nothing feels more incredible than to look over and see someone from your leadership team supporting you. Last, I would like to thank Forest High School for providing the most incredible teachers up and beyond the call of duty for a child's success. Teachers who truly care about their students. It's such a blessing that my children have been able to be such a special part of something so very, very special. Teachers who truly lead by example, who encourage and inspire our children to reach deep inside themselves so they can accomplish anything they set their minds to. Forest teachers make themselves available before school, after school, and even over their lunch hours to help any student in any way they can so they can be successful. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share my feelings of how much I love and support our high school. In a world full of negativity, I feel it's even more important to address the positive. Thank you.
Ms. Lopez.
And we have one off the air, one speaker off the air.
Request to address the board.
Non-televised.
Okay. Thank you. May I have a motion to approve consent agenda items C8-1 through C17-1 with the exception of items C8-1 and C12-2, which have been placed on the regular agenda for discussion. May I have a motion, please? Moved by Ms. Boynton, seconded by Ms. King. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by voting aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0. I am now, since I withdrew the interlocal agreement along with Ms. Boynton, I'm going to pass the gavel to Mr. James and ask him to call for a motion.
May I have a motion to approve the interlocal agreement with the city of Ocala in regard to the stormwater fees? May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
It was moved by Mrs. King. You can second. And it-
Second, I mean, that's fine.
Okay, and it was seconded by Mrs. Stacy. I will draw this, I would do this item along with Ms. Bowen
That's,
with,
I think that's her.
That would be, I would do this item along.
okay, wait a minute. now.
So now we have discussion.
I would do this, this item along with Ms. Boynton. I'll say, Ms. McCall. So that's it, and now we're open for discussion. We'll start with Ms. McCall.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. James. The board has had the opportunity to go through this agreement. It is an interlocal agreement. For those that are not familiar, for 9 years, the school board and the city of Ocala have been in a battle over our stormwater fees, actually, a lawsuit over our stormwater fees, and we've worked very hard to come to an agreement, and this agreement covers all of the concerns that our school board has had. It is an interlocal agreement, not a contract. They have drastically reduced the fee for what we will pay on an annual basis. They have waived all of the past fees. They will give us the same 8.5% increase on an annual basis that everybody else that pays stormwater fees, but it was going to be 4 years and now it's 2. They have agreed that any new property that we build on existing sites will not have an increase in percentage of the stormwater fees. So they have addressed all of our concerns, and I am hoping that our board tonight will vote on this so that we can move forward. They turned the power on to Wyomina as soon as they voted on this agreement. So I think we have a fair agreement in that we can move forward. So those are my comments. I want us to work strong with the city, and I think this helps us with that relationship.
Ms. Boynton.
Thank you. The reason why I asked through this, because I will not vote for this, because I believe that the school board should not pay valuable taxes. We've been in this for over 5 years, and about this taxes for stormwater. When you look at the stormwater, the whole county people taxes. I cannot give taxes for the people. The people put me on for the school board, for the people. I looked at that. Do I believe in the city of Ocala? Of course I do. But I also understand that the whole county of the people should not pay taxes already. Because if you looked at it, I gave the school board the information from our lawyer back in 2013, which is April 2013, where it tell us that creating a stormwater utility is like a local government. And the school board should not be penalized because of a local government agency. But I think that it's something that for all those years, and I remember some of the parents that came for this over the city. Remember when the city, we had to get, and I know everybody doesn't want to remember this, but remember, we had to have a lawyer where we had to, they were trying to cut off the lights for the school board, for every county, for this one city. And I thought we were going to come together and really, really come together and about this. So I cannot vote this Because almost, how much money you think we're gonna be paying for the city? After we ask for the city, we're gonna ask for we're asking all the people to get a referendum, and then in the middle of that, the people have to understand we're paying off the city. So I will not vote for that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comment?
I'd like to say.
Ms. Stacy?
I've struggled with this, and I'm supporting Ms. McCall. Don't get worried. I'm good. But Mrs. Boynton is absolutely correct that this is a fee that is in courts all across the state, and the courts are coming down on the school system side. But the legal fees are just going on and on. And I try to look at things in a fair way, and I don't think it's probably fair, might not be fair for us to, we have sovereign immunity right now. I have a big concern about giving up our sovereign immunity by going into a contract with a city. But I also have to look at our city residents, that the cost I had a problem originally because I felt like some of the county children, the families, this would be taxation without representation with the city controlling the stormwater bill. But then again, we have people in the county that's using a city school, that's coming into a city school, and their school is causing a cost to the city that the city taxpayers will have to pay if we don't pick it up. And it's county children that are using these schools. And so, but yet the city taxpayers, city families would have to pick it up. And I have really struggled. I applaud Mrs. Boynton for standing with her guns on this. She's exactly right. This is not something we have to do, but there comes a point in time where our legal bills start to not be, especially given the fact that we've gone into meetings together. We've had shade meetings where we have we've talked the city down considerably from one number to a much, much lower number. We asked them to give us consideration on not charging us any extra stormwater when we do put concrete down on top of some of our previous areas, so that it affects our drainage. They've really worked with us. We don't have to do this, and I'm voting tonight to support this so that we can move on, stop the bleeding with the attorneys, because it's bleeding on both sides. It's bleeding on the city side, it's bleeding on our side. And so when you add the two together, when you add the fees for the city and you add the legal fees for us, it's probably about what we'll be paying at the end of the day. And so for that reason, I will be supporting it.
Okay. Ms. King?
I will also be supporting this, just when I understand what happened here. I think what happened in this county was an attorney came before the school board and a deal was struck with Alachua County. That we tried very hard to work with the city of Ocala, and we didn't have anything to offer that they wanted. I am not in favor of using taxpayer dollars to line the pockets of attorneys. And I think it's important that the school board and the city of Ocala move forward, and we can stop the no turning on the lights, or just, when you just go back and look, I mean, there's a lot of things that happened in the past, and I think it's important that we just stop it now and we can move forward.
Okay. I'll be closing this out. One of the things that we talked about in all the work sessions and all the attorney-client sessions, we finally came down to being fair about what we did. No matter what we say or do, we're still going to be running stormwater into retention ponds. They're going to be using some of our property as well. And when we finally got to the end of this thing, we talked about being fair with both parties. Just how could we be fair? And I want to commend the city for really negotiating with us, and we negotiated with them to get this thing down where it appeared that it was a fair deal that both of us could live with. And so in the final analysis, I think it was time for us to bring it to a close. And I think when we vote tonight, we'll be voting for fairness. And I think this is what this boiled down to it. We were fair, they were fair, then we could move on. Now I'll call the question on it. All in favor signify by saying aye. Oppose?
Against.
Okay.
Nay.
The motion passed 4-1. Ms. McCall, I return your gavel.
Thank you. And my script.
Oh.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. James. Thank you, board members, very much. May I have a motion to approve the 2018-2019 district level staffing plan?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. James,
Second?
seconded by Ms. King. Ms. Stacy, you withdrew this item.
Yes, I did. And I just withdrew it for just a little bit of discussion. We have really worked hard on this. And by working hard on it, every time it came back to us, it came back with some more cuts. So that was a good thing, that we turned it down last week because it came back with more cuts. As they were removing things that they felt like just negotiating with the board. I think they did a real good job negotiating with the board. And the reason I pulled it is I had requested from Mrs. Boston Ellis, from the beginning, we wanted this costed out. We just couldn't seem to get it costed out. And so Mr. James and me, and some of the other board members just wanted to see how much it's going to cost, and we kind of said we're not approving it till it gets costed out. So we held our ground, we got it costed out, and it comes to a $533,700 basic $700 difference, $533,000 difference, and over the staffing plan last year. So we're a little over $500,000 difference, even though we have basically got less employees in it, but the employees are making more money, some of them, with the advances and the raises and the different level, raising them from one position to another position, from a director to an executive director. So by doing that, we've got less employees, but we've got more money. And it's real money. It's based upon the same dollars. So it is an oranges for oranges comparison as far as how much it cost, because the raises were all included. The only thing I haven't gotten is I was curious where we were with the district budgeted one that was accepted, Mr. Thomas last year here. And I'm still kind of waiting for that for my own consideration. I asked for that a little bit late, and so I understand it's taken a little bit of time to put it together. So the reason I pulled it was because I wanted the public to know that the staffing plan, we do have a little over $500,000 additional cost to the district staffing plan this year over last year. Now, my concern is this. We've got to staff all the SROs, and we've got all of this to do. My question is, I know, Mr. James, that we can bring it back and have it looked at again if, when we do the budget, we find that we have to cut out of the classroom, paraprofessionals or different things out of the classroom to try to make this thing work. I don't want to see that happen. But we're going to start hiring people as soon as we approve it. And I don't really know how, and I asked our attorney, because this budget, we won't finalize the budget until the end of the summer. And so I don't believe we can pull it back at that time. So is there any kind of language we can put in the contracts that will basically say, and I see Dr. Mayer nodding her head, that the contracts themselves will show that this is pending approval of the budget? We can do that language? I see her shaking her head, yes.
Certainly amend the contracts and put in language that would allow for any kind of retraction or.
Just in case we can't bring on one of these employees on the district level, okay?
I can't guarantee they would sign a contract. I don't know.
Well,
when their start
if
date
they're already here though, and they're just being moved up a spot, then yes, and they understand that we might not be able to advance them to that level if we just don't have the money to advance it. Because in improving the staffing plan, I know that gives the district the green light to go ahead and start making plans for hiring. I just want to make sure though that in our contracts, we have some language, and I see Ms. Mayer nodding her head, that she can make that happen, so that if the money doesn't come through, that we can make some cuts on it, even if some people have to step back down to their other positions or whatever it is they have to do to make the budget work. Instead of raising an administrator up to another level and not having something that we need in the classroom on the instructional side, if we have to say, well, we aren't going to be able to make this promotion this year and we'll have to wait until next year because we don't have the money. You follow where I'm going with this, Ms. Mayer? To make sure we make it, okay.
Mr. James?
You know, I'm having a hard time with this now. If we give a person a contract, they need to have a contract. I don't particularly like the idea that I give a contract and if this happened, you don't have a contract. My thing is, if we are approving the staffing plan, we approve the staffing plan. And if we get into high water or whatever, then it's up to this administration to make these cuts. I do not want an employee to be walking around here on a maybe contract. And when I say a maybe contract, if this go right to the left, this is right, you'll be all right. When that person signed that, because it is a competitive business out here, and I do not want our employees to be walking around here with a maybe contract. So if we're gonna vote this thing, let's vote it, and let them do what they need to do, and if we get in trouble, then you need to do what you need to do to get us back to where we need to be. I just disagree with that. I don't want no contracts going out here on the condition that this might work and it may not. Either we vote this thing, either we vote it or we don't.
Ms. Boston Ellis, could I ask you, please, would you mind? We have to approve and vote on a balanced budget, correct?
Correct.
So as we move through the budget process, if the budget is not balanced, then that automatically means we have to go in and make cuts. Am I correct?
You are correct.
Okay.
I won't present a budget to you that is not balanced.
Okay. So approving the staffing plan does not necessarily mean that every position will be here or at the rate that it is, because I have full confidence in Ms. Boston Ellis and her staff to be sure that we have a balanced budget. So I think we need to move forward. It is almost the end of the school year. We are going to have people begin to leave our county, good people, if we cannot get things done so this staffing plan can move forward. I'm very concerned about that.
Beth, I'm gonna call for the.
Okay.
I have one more thing to say.
I need to say something too.
I have
Go
one more
ahead.
thing to say. Ms. McCall, you're basically saying the same thing I said, but I'm not real sure why you're not understanding what I'm saying. You're saying that if we don't have the money, we can't fill the positions. But what if we've already given them a contract? We're gonna start giving contracts when, July the what? I don't know when it starts. I mean, how long do we?
The effective date of contracts typically start July 1 through June 30th.
Okay, so that's in basically 4 or 5 weeks, we have to know whether we got the money before we sign the contracts. And historically, we go into these and we don't really have any preliminary budget numbers or anything, and we roll until like end of July when we all come back from vacation. By then, it's already too late. So Ms. McCall, what you're saying can't happen. because they've already hired them, because we aren't going to have any numbers until after the contracts are signed for July 1st. So how do we handle that if we can't afford it? Everybody keeps telling me, well, if we can't afford it, we got to have a balanced budget, we just won't do it. But if we've already given the contracts on July the 1st, that's why I'm trying to make a way to make this happen. What do we do?
Well, we have to have a balanced budget, and you're
I hear
correct about that. We do not get our final revenue numbers until July 19th, and that's just statutorial. But as in the past, the staffing plan typically exceeds what we are estimating our revenues plus other expenditures are going to be. So we continue to do what we've been doing over prior years, evaluating all budgets, looking at other means of supporting not only the staff, but other things that are needed, whether it's software or supplies. So we are in that process just like we always have been. And I understand what you're saying, Ms. Stacy, but it will be balanced. It will be balanced probably before July 19th, but we don't get the final numbers until July 19th, which is no different than what we've gotten in the past.
Okay, but this is what I don't want to have happen, and this is what I see is going to happen. We will fulfill the staffing plan. Mr. James is saying he doesn't want anything tentative or anything. So they'll hire it. It's going to be balanced off the back of the paraprofessionals. It's going to be balanced off the back of the classroom. That's how we're going to balance it, because there's no other money. And so it'll balance off not doing a program that the schools, not a software that we feel the schools need or something, because you're not going to balance it off the backs of the administrative staff. And that's the reason I was sitting here hoping that y'all would go in this direction, because I know how it works. I've done this enough times. So you're basically saying exactly what I expected you to say, which is what happens, that we will.
What Dr. Mayer said to us is that we won't do that. We won't balance the budget on the back.
But if you've already given contracts, like Mr. James is talking about doing to our employees, and you've already contracted everybody that's on the staffing plan on July 1st, it'll have to be balanced off of someone's back. And it always hits the classroom.
There are some expenditures that I don't have the right to discuss now that relate to things like health insurance or the cost of SROs, where we have put in an estimate and we're working to make sure that we are paying the right thing for those items. Again, health insurance, we're going through an RFP, so there may be some adjustments that we can do with expenditures on that end as well. But at this point right now, today, I can't tell you for sure that the money that we have in the budget is exactly what we're going to need, because there are some other things. We don't know about fund balance. We're working to eliminate spending this time of year unless it's necessary. Say for summer school, we've cut off that. As I stated before, we've looked at department budgets, the things that they would have liked to purchase, and we've said, is this a necessity? And in some instances, they've gone back and regrouped and say, well, maybe we don't need all of this money. So it's the same process that we've gone through, but we do have some big variables at this time of the year that we didn't have before.
Well, I was hoping when the staffing plan, because we had less people, I was hoping when the staffing plan came through with less people, that it would show kind of a wash from last year, but it's showing clearly $534,000 increase, because we never get it priced out before we approve it. This is a brand new thing that we really push to have done, because I've never been able to get that done. Thank goodness Mr. James supported me on that, so that I could see exactly what we were approving, and it got approved down at the wire today. I mean, it came through today. And so that's what I needed to see. And I guess because of my concern over the classroom, I won't be able to support the staffing plan, but I'll be the only vote probably not supporting it, and that's okay. But we've talked about, well, we can always bring it back. Mr. James talked about bringing it back. It's too late. This is it. We won't be bringing anything back. Staffing plan's over. This is it. And so it's going on, headed towards $600,000 over what it was last year. We've got SROs that we've got to purchase. We have no clue how much that's going to be. I see us headed into our fund balance. I see us going that direction. And so I don't want this balanced. It will be balanced. I know the budget will be balanced. but I don't want it balanced off the back of our schools on our paras or our classroom teachers or anything. So that is the reason I can't support it. Thank you.
Ms. Boynton?
When we, on last Thursday, and I asked this information, and I thought we were gonna have all the information right there. If you're gonna send me some information, you should already have it should be done, not something to say later on. I cannot sign for something. And we always talk together, I said, come back, tell me what is you saying? Not Mr., excuse me.
Slow down.
Yeah, I am. Because I did affirmative him. I said, come back. Because I said, I don't want those area directors at all. Change the name. He said, yes. Now, we still have 3 new area directors, cost $3,169,000. And I said, okay, all you have to do is bring the information right. But because you don't want this, I just, at that meeting, we all talked this. Everybody talked to you all. This is what you did. We had another, I don't even have it with her, but, and so you changed her instantly to be leadership development. And I'm thinking, I think right now, we need to, I'm always ready to say we need to stop praying, because this is something we need to be doing for our county, you know? And I know you work really hard to do that. I know that. But I think I will not vote for this. Again.
Ms. Boynton, the area directors, I don't think anybody else, but you had a problem with the name.
And I told, well, listen, it's too late now, because when we tried to do that, didn't we say that?
No, it was not with the area directors. I think all of us were okay with the area directors.
I said, but I need to,
fine with that.
because this is a plan. That plan, everything you're saying, it should be right there so that we know nothing too.
Well, we need to work through this. When we were here last week, I did leave, and I think we had a consensus that I'm looking at you, Teresa, and I know you're just the messenger. I think we had a consensus.
We did.
But there was some information that was not presented to us until today. And that was that there was few positions that we did agree. Now we're up to $500,000. We also have SROs. I would never want this on the backs of the classroom, the teachers, the deans, the paraprofessionals. I understand that we may have a high percentage of paraprofessionals, but the taxpayers are paying for the paraprofessionals. They agreed for this referendum. But what we need to do as a board is we need to work through this, because Teresa has a job to do, and that is to have her balanced budget so we can move forward. So what can we do right now? I know we're not planning. Is there anything we can do right now so we can agree and make an amendment and you can move forward? What can we do?
Let me just share this with you now. Are you all gonna hire all these people next week? That's on here? No, sir. Okay, and to me, I look at it as an ongoing process here. Yep. Because they're not gonna hire all these people next week. Teresa, when will you have this done? But they need to get going.
Yeah.
Well, are you going to pass the staffing plan tonight?
Well,
And we'll get going on that. But again, we don't get our final revenue numbers until July 19th, which is no different.
We will have lost so much, and all I'm saying is we do not hire all these people at one time.
Yeah, but I've heard conflicting information, because a few minutes ago it was like, we need to hurry up and pass this so the people can be hired. And that's what I heard. And I understand how that works. If we approve this, these
Dr. Grantham.
people will be hired.
So, Mr. James, you're absolutely correct. You have the staffing plan. Last year is a perfect example. I'll just do one example. We had a birth through 2 ELA person and a 3, 4, 5 ELA person. We had the staffing plan approved. We realized we could not pay that to balance the budget, so we eliminated it. And Ms. Stacy, we refer to that as unfunded. You've heard that quite a few times. We cannot hire everybody tomorrow, even if we wanted to. So as we go through, we say, so there's 3 positions. We might not be able to hire that one, we can hire the other 2. So we do it that way. We do it at a district staffing plan. And Ms. King, what you're referring to this afternoon about hiring people, this is a part of the school because you have the district staffing plan, which impacts what happens with your principals and APs. Very rarely are your principal and APs the other specialists or program specialists and that such as that. Each school is allocated a principal and AP. That's why I made that comment this afternoon. But no, sir, we have a staffing plan. If we cannot hire it, if we cannot balance it, and Ms. Stacy said $500,000. That's a few people that we haven't hired yet that do not have jobs yet. So you just say to get 0, we do that. And I'll give you another example. Last year we were balancing a budget, and we had a former IT person here, and we said, hey, we planned on spending this much money this year. We can't do that. And Scott said just like that, okay, we'll take this amount of money. So we balanced the budget that way. So what Ms. Boston-Ellis is referring to is there are other pots of money to go. And then what our people do a very good job is if you say, that's not what you have. This is the money you have to spend this year. Make it work. And they say, okay, and they make it work. So it will not come on the backs of the paraprofessionals or the teachers. It will come on not hiring people. We will not hire. We will not fund those positions. We won't do that. And you're right, Mr. James. That's correct.
Well, you mentioned there's probably about 5 people that we could get that down. Can you eliminate 5 positions off this that
And then we can go back and put them.
I would never do that to our directors or our folks. I would sit down with them and have a conversation with them. We'd say, okay, it's getting tight. What would we do? I would never trump someone and say, we're pulling it from you. You don't have it anymore. I wouldn't do that. That's not how I do things.
Well, you said that there's some positions that are not filled.
There's several that are not filled, several. And she costed that out assuming that we're hiring those people, and we haven't hired those people yet. There's several positions that have not been filled.
Okay. What I'd like to say is, if there are some people that you might not have to fill, what's the problem with taking them off now to get this budget back down, and then we can always do a budget amendment and put them back in?
Well, if the board's saying, and Ms. McCall, if you're telling us that you want to have it zeroed out so that we come to you with a 0 net figure, but what Ms. Boston-Ellis is doing is short of miraculous because she's doing a lot of guessing with salaries and what we spend and what we currently have. And what she keeps alluding to is the fact that we don't know what our money is until June 30. We don't know what we really have, so we're doing a whole lot of guessing here. And we'll know in the middle of July what we have. So if you want to say make sure it's zeroed out as far as our district staffing plan goes, we can figure that out. That's probably what we would do anyway. It'd probably actually less than 0 if we were doing that.
Because, we asked for this. This didn't take really, Ms. Boston-Ellis got this done since Thursday's workshop. And Mr. James and I had been asking for these numbers for a month and a half, and then we said, seriously, we really seriously need it. And I'm concerned that the district knew it would be kind of on the high side, and that maybe it wasn't, get us to approve it before we knew how much it was. This was just why we wanted to have this before we had the workshop Thursday, so that we could go over it and look at it and see, and see what, like, for example, even our investigation team. I understand we have a lot of investigations going on. We have increased we had Ms. Cohen, and now she has someone there. She's going to be leaving in a year or two, whenever she's going to leave. And we're training someone to be in that position, but it gave her a second investigator, the principal from NH Jones, and she's over there, Miss Gary, working into it, but so we're going to have 2 employees. That's 100% increase in that department. And then we have Miss Oliver, and we had, another person added to that. So that's 100% increase kind of over there in employees. So I know that, and I understand from Dr. Ham, we've got a lot of investigations to do. It takes a lot of time and everything. But, and I think probably, he cut people to get people is what he does. But do we really have to have both of them in this staffing plan? Is there one that we could one of those people one of the numbers, like somebody we haven't hired over in Ms. Oliver's department, just because we already have somebody over here, that we just not put that position in, right? That should whack out with benefits $100,000 right there. And my concern too is we have so many employee suspensions and so many people being punished in the district right now that we can't get it investigated. It's taken too long to investigate because we requested that information, and we have twice as many teachers and different ones that's getting suspensions and stuff than we had a couple of years ago. And so what's happened is almost becoming a jobs program for our investigation department because they have twice as many cases to investigate, and now we need more people for investigators so that we can punish our teachers and keep everybody punished.
Stacy.
And so I'm concerned that that's growing our staffing budget by $200,000, just those two slots right there.
Mr. James?
I'm at this point with this because I know that we cannot expect this district not to grow. Now, the district is growing, whether we like it or not. The district is growing. And I keep going back to the fact that we need to approve this thing and let them go ahead and start hiring employees. And then the ones that we can't afford, we leave them unfunded. But I can't go back and look at all the things that we are saying about our budget when we don't expect the budget to grow, and the budget will grow. It's just the nature of the beast, because it's not going to be what it was in 2016, 2017. And when I look at what I think I'm hearing from this administration and from most of us up here, we need to be competitive. We need to be competitive. And then in order to be competitive, we need to move on. But by the same token, I understand where Ms. Ellis is in terms of she will bring us a balanced budget. By the same token, she will be working with these guys and saying, hey, we can't fund that, and these things will come back to us unfunded. And
I agree.
And I agree
Got to move on. We have to move this staffing plan. We have to move on so we can, school's out. We have to start planning for next year. School is out this week. And we've got people that, they're going to leave our district.
How many students have we gotten this year compared to last year? I don't know. Well, how much have we grown? Somebody knows the figure?
And I still contend,
Maybe 500?
this staffing plan allows this district to work smarter. Every one of us up here agrees with these area directors. Everybody has talked about it makes sense to break this district into areas. Mr. James being a big proponent of that. We have got to move this staffing plan so we.
Okay, but Ms. McCall, I understand we're growing, and Mr. James, I understand we're growing. So we grew by, 500 students or 800 students or what, but we grew $500,000 in district administration costs for like 600 kids or 1,000 kids, to grow $500,000 in just district administration. And so, I was all excited when they were telling us how they had decreased these people, but what we've done is we've just taken the people we had and given them more expensive jobs that I believe they would have done had they just remained at their old numbers. I don't believe we had to even advance some of these people because it's making more money than anybody in this county makes on a lot of these jobs, hardly on banks or anything. And so I was just shocked today when I got these numbers. I was really surprised that we've grown 500 or 1,000 students, but we're going to go 534,000 increase in district administration cost. It just shocked me. I really, when I first started talking about it this afternoon, I thought, well, a couple
Dr. Grantham?
$100,000, but
Ms. Stacy, would you feel more comfortable we come in saying that we will zero out the district? There would be $0 increased in period. We'll figure that out. Would that make you feel more comfortable?
I would sign right now.
We will do that. We will do that.
Dr. Grantham,
He can do it. He can do it. You told him to do it.
I have a problem with us now. I understand everybody want to get everything they want right now, but I do know.
We are micromanaging.
I do know
No, I'm managing tax
that
dollars.
we are moving forward in this district. And I know it will cost us additional money. I have been with Ms. Ellis almost 10, about 20 years now, and this lady is really, really good at what she do.
But you can't print money.
But she can tell you when it's unfunded, you can't fund it. And I'm sitting here wanting to get this thing done because I asked for the numbers. I got the numbers. And one of the things I said, I did not want to hamper what they're trying to do. Now when I sit here and say, let's go back and let's go to zero on this thing again, and I know there's some things that was going to happen regardless if we go to zero. So I'm at this point now where I'm saying, guys, we need to let these, just give some trust into these guys and let it be unfunded when they bring it back, and if they can't fund it, then they'll tell us. But it's got to be balanced, and this lady back here will tell you she won't bring it to us unless it's balanced.
And it's going to be balanced off the back of the classroom if we
It will
don't
not
watch it.
be
It's happened
balanced off the
before.
back.
We
Now,
can-
Ms. Dr. Grantham, I would have been okay for a $250,000 increase. $500,000 plus just kind of blew me away when we haven't increased student numbers hardly at all. I would be happy if you even cut that $500,000 in half.
Stacy, what I'm saying, we will commit to that having we will have a $0 raise. We'll figure that out. I have no problem doing that. We will figure it out some kind of
If
way.
you can't get there and you have to go up to $200,000.
No, we're not doing halfway.
can do that, I'll be-
Because I understand what you're saying. We will figure it out some kind
If
of
we
way.
haven't increased student numbers that much, we cannot,
But
I
we will
can't look
zero
at
it
the
out. We will
taxpayers
find
and
a way.
say we're gonna increase admin. You
Do-
follow me? Okay.
Do we need to vote this down then? Because I'm
No,
not,
I'm gonna trust him, I'm gonna vote for him, and I'm gonna trust him to do exactly what he just told me he's gonna do.
but this is on the board for the vote tonight, is that
Yeah,
correct?
we'll vote.
This
That's
is
the
the
same thing I
staffing
just
plan, it's
trust
the
him last
staffing
year, so
plan
why
is on
should
the, is,
Well, and I'm voting for the staffing plan.
okay, all right, so,
I'm voting for it. I trust Dr. Grantham.
all right. So you heard her say you could go to 250,000. I believe in working smarter, and sometimes working smarter costs a little bit more money, and I will never not say that. So, let's go ahead, and I'm gonna call for the
Well, I think you
vote.
can work smart.
Let's call for, I think everybody has voiced enough opinions. I'm gonna call for the vote. All those in favor, please vote aye. Those opposed, nay. This is for the district level staffing plan.
Yay. Got it. Did I vote? I think I voted.
Okay, passed 4-1 in favor of the staffing plan. Thank you. All right,
Yeah, I did not vote for it, so. that's all.
okay, at this time, I would like to recognize Superintendent Meyer.
Oh gosh, let me flip the, okay.
Here.
I request the chair declare good cause to discuss an item regarding the external operator for Evergreen Elementary School.
I declare good cause.
Thank you.
Your turn.
I recommend a motion be made to approve the contract with Educational Directions LLC.
May I have a motion on the superintendent's recommendation? Moved by Ms. King, seconded by Ms. Boynton. Is there discussion? Mr. James, or anybody have anything? This is on the contract that we will be signing, sending to DOE. Mr. Gibbs, would you like to have any conversation at all?
No, I'm happy to answer any questions. I've built in the automatic termination if it's a C, so if it does get a C, it's automatically terminated.
Ms. McCall?
Yes, Mr. James.
I know, and just like to say this, I'd like to thank the people that really worked on the external operator. I think, again, they will meet our needs. And then when we look at these numbers in reference to the turnaround schools, I think they match what we are trying to do. And again, I will say, I'm pleased with this simply because the expertise that we gain at Evergreen, we could use at our other schools. So I think this is money well spent. I think it's an opportunity for us to really gain some outside experience along with what we're doing inside our district and cherry pick some really good ideas. And so I look forward to working with this external operator. And I like their track record, and I like the way they work. They have worked in the past with other school districts. So I appreciate the board and all of us getting together. And this is one thing I will say that we all agreed on, that this was the right thing. Job well done.
It is within our price range, and I'm trying to see here exactly where that is. We had talked about between.
It's Exhibit B is the pricing. It's also at the beginning of the contract.
It's at the beginning of the contract?
The total, yeah, it's 401 and some change.
Okay, about $401,000, and they can get started right away. So, all right, so if everybody's in agreement, I will call for the vote on the external operator.
I will clarify that 401 is worst-case scenario that they do not obtain a C. In the event that they do obtain a C, Exhibit B does contain alternative pricing measures if the board would like to have consultation services.
Okay. Call the question.
So all those in favor, please signify by voting aye, and opposed, like sign. Motion passed 5-0. Thank you. I personally want to thank Ms. Jennifer Beck, who was the direct contact this week with educational directions to be sure that we got this contract so we can get it to DOE. They're finally going to be happy with us, I think. So thank you, Ms. Beck, for all your hard work. May I have a motion to approve the following cash or tangible donations that have a total value of $47,974? $1,000 to Denellen Elementary School for Marion Soil and Water Conservation District, $4,574 to Denellen High School from Denellen High School Booster Club, 4 $500 gift cards valued at $2,000 to Denellen High School from Winn-Dixie, $2,000 to Lakeware High School from Circle K Stores, Inc., number 2721422, I guess that's the number of their stores. There were two $1,000 checks. $1,000 to Lakeware High School from Marion Soil and Water Conservation District Board. $2,500 to Madison Street Elementary School from their business partner Regions Bank via the Public Education Foundation. $10,000 to Marion Technical Institute from the Public Education Foundation. 2005 Sterling AT 9513 day cabs valued at $20,000 to Marion Technical College from R&L Transfer, Inc. $4,900 to Osceola Middle School from CenturyLink Clark M. Williams Foundation. A motion? Moved by Ms. King, seconded by Ms. Boynton. All those in favor, please signify by voting aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. The motion passed 5-0. Ms. King, would you please thank our...
I will. I would like, on behalf of the school board, to thank everyone who generously and graciously gave to our students and for caring for our students. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. James, I'll start with you with board concerns.
Once again, we're getting close to the end of the school year, and I'd like to make sure that all of our students are thinking about what their plans are for next year. And when I say that, I know we have kids that'll be coming back next year, but I especially like to shout out to these seniors that's graduating, that walked across the stage, and that will be walking across the stage. If you need to take some time to think about what you want to do, then do it. But by the same token, just do something. And that's the worst thing that you could possibly do, is not do anything. And this is what I wanted to say to you. And this will probably be my last year, you know. I won't see the classes of 2018. And I just want to make sure that all of the students out there know it's whatever you make of it. And when you get your high school diploma or you get your vocational certificate, it's whatever you make of it. And so I want to say that to all the people that are out there that's wondering about what to do. The worst thing you can do is not do anything. You know, I'm an old coach. The worst thing you can do in a big ball game is not shoot the ball. You can't win if you don't shoot the ball. You can't be successful if you don't do something. Good, bad, or indifferent, it'll be whatever you make of it. So that's my thought for today.
Thank you, Mr. James. Ms. Boynton? Ms. King?
Thank you.
Yes, I just want to say congratulations to North Marion High. I attended their graduation on Saturday evening, and it was great. It was a great celebration. And I would also like to tell our employees thank you. Thank you for another school year of dedication to our students. And I just encourage you, whether you're a teacher, bus driver, or even if you're a full-time employee, at some point during this summer, just take some time to reflect, rejuvenate, rest, and take care of yourselves. And I just want you to know how much you're appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Stacy?
Yes, I think we've had a really, really busy week. I look forward to a graduation that's coming up and out at Lake Weir High School. And there was a reason I did not attend Forest High School's graduation. And that parent was a kind of a perfect example of why. I was falsely accused by another parent with the principal standing behind her. And Ms. McCall, I'm disappointed that you didn't shut them down, but it didn't happen, but Mr. James did. And at a board meeting a little while back, and honestly, I have to say, I really was concerned about my safety to go there with some of the people acting like that at the school. I didn't feel I was falsely accused of something that happened the day of the shooting that absolutely didn't happen. And I was told that I went in front of the school and I talked to the press and did this and that. I didn't do any of those things. I was with Miss King inside the church. I didn't even I went to pick my car up at the church. The students were gone and way off to their senior night, and everything was over. It was the end of the day, 5:30, and one of the news stations talked to me, and one of the things I talked to them about that I would like to share with the board also is what can you do so that you can identify students who are not supposed to be at that school, because this was a student that had no right being at that school. And I suggested also that possibly the district might consider uniforms, so that when a student comes on the school site and he's not dressed in a properly labeled shirt or whatever, that we would identify them right away. But due to some of the behavior, I really didn't feel like I would really be real safe. I didn't feel real comfortable going to the Forest High graduation, and my 3 children graduated from that high school. My son was a football captain there, my daughters were cheerleaders, and I have a Forest Strong sign in my driveway right now supporting the school. But there are several parents at the school that I just chose to avoid. Thank you.
I have 3 things, actually. First of all, I certainly enjoyed Forest High School graduation, looking forward to Westport and Bellevue as well. I want to pass out to you, there's 2 flyers coming. These are, the first one is the one for Vote Marion. These are PDF flyers for our referendum. Our committee is working very hard. These PDF flyers will be going out to businesses. The second one is Kevin worked with us on the language and has gone out to all of the schools. Businesses can post these. I also want to thank, and the CEP, the Chamber Economic Partnership, has endorsed our referendum. at the highest level of endorsement, so they will be helping us get the word out about why we need to continue with this referendum. We will be having rack cards. We have a great committee. Fundraising has started, and so I feel comfortable with the direction that we are going with this, and we will have lots of information to share. But these are currently out, and we are talking. We have already visited with close to a dozen, if not more, clubs and organizations. So we'll be talking all summer. So anybody that would like for the referendum committee to speak, please contact me. So thank you. My third thing, and I want the board to understand, nobody asked me to do this, but I had a concern after our workshop today that we are winding down the school year. Things need to be going forward for the start of next year, and with us not being able to vote on the new principal job description, I have a concern that we're going to hold up getting assistant principals and principals. So I would like a consensus of the board for administration to be able to move forward. They were to announce, I believe, very soon, principal and assistant principals. And I would like consensus that we can move forward with some of the things we talked about today with the new job description. So even though we haven't voted on it, I need consensus so they can do the job they need to do to begin to get us ready for next year. So I will just open that for just a little bit of discussion, but I am very concerned about us not having the leadership in place we need. Mr. James?
Now, what I'm hearing from you, Ms. McCall, is that you're asking for a consensus. It's not a vote.
Not a vote.
Okay, a consensus for them to go ahead and identify the people that they want and make contact with them and let them know this is what the situation is once we get everything squared away, so they can do whatever they need to do in terms of preparation. I don't have a problem with that.
I would like to check with the attorney to see, can we go
A consensus is just a consensus. If it comes back later on and the policy and the job description isn't to the board's satisfaction and they've hired people or identified people that don't meet the ultimate job description things, then that would raise a separate issue. But
They can have what?
if they hired or identified people who did not meet the new job descriptions, that would create a different problem once it was approved by the board, but just giving a consensus does not bind the board in any way, so it's just giving them direction.
Okay. I will, if it is written as we spoke about today, I will be approving that job description, and I will give the superintendent my support that if it is written as we spoke about, that we can move forward with putting our schools in place, and in fact, I was very instrumental in what I wanted on it, and Mrs. Mira, they gave it to me, and so I would probably have to have a real crazy moment to not support it, so.
So you're talking about including the assistant principal for 2 years?
Exactly,
Okay.
including that's very important to me, and if we have that in there, I will be voting for it. So if you need to go ahead and move forward, you can count on me.
Okay. You Ms. King, okay. Dr. Grantham?
Yes, ma'am. So we'll come back June 16th for a vote. Is that the next board meeting?
12th
June
is the
12th.
next board meeting.
And remember, it's effective July 1, so there's still time too. So just for the information of all the board, we're going to make announcements May 30th, which is the Wednesday after Memorial Day. And like we did last year, I'm going to call you in and we'll have conversations individually before we do that.
Are we going to have a public hearing, or how's it going to go? Have you figured that out yet?
I will be looking into that tomorrow, and I'll let everybody know so they can proceed, but I don't believe we have to have public hearing advertising for job descriptions.
Okay.
So if everybody agrees, then it could even go on the agenda for next time, as long as we see that the language is exactly as
would be fine with
we want, then everybody would be fine with consent. Okay, Ms. Borton, do you have anything? Are you okay with that?
When I wanted to, you were talking to them, so.
I'm sorry.
But that's okay, I don't need to say anything, because I believe once we vote, the people vote, then I'm ready to do what we need to do. Okay?
Okay, all right, thank you all. I had a big concern after our meeting today, so I thank you very, very much. Okay, let me move. Do you want to pass those down, Bailey? Okay, special administrative briefing and work session is scheduled for Thursday. Oh, I'm so sorry. Dr. Mayer.
Thank you, Ms. McCall. You're on a roll. This is quick and just a bunch of happy. Hello, Officer Hunt. Thanks for sneaking in during the meeting. It's good to see you. How was Mother's Day with the 2 kids? And you got her the big gift I suggested, right? Okay, thank you. All right. And earlier we had Officer DSO with us, and he stepped out. You stepped in. And again, we appreciate you all so much. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here. Very excited that we have started the process of awarding the students who won the In God We Trust poster contest. We awarded the high school young lady from Denellen High. We awarded the middle school and the grades 3-5. Tomorrow we will award grades K2. And because it's the end of the school year, we will have these students back at one of the first board meetings of the fall, and we'll recognize them with their print. Now remember that In God We Trust is our state motto, and it was signed into law by Governor Scott that every school must display it, and so we turned that opportunity over to our students to design the In God We Trust motto. So at Bellevue High, thank you, Mr. Kelly. His crew out there is going to print the winning posters, so every high school, they will have the high school winner. Every middle school will have the middle school winner, and it's exciting that the high school winner is actually a junior, and so when I was telling her next year when you're walking the halls, you will see your work, and she just beamed. So that's very exciting. We also started visiting with the social studies teachers of the year. Today we were at Fort McCoy Elementary, where we presented Miss Grace, the social studies elementary teacher of the year. Her students were very proud of her, and when we walked in, and remember elementary school, we walked in, school ends Thursday, right? There she is teaching about the Trail of Tears. The common board was up. You saw the objective. Miss Gerlach's beaming. You saw the objective. The students were engaged. I was looking at their desks as we were taking pictures. They were doing graphic organizers. They had their exit tickets ready. So instruction was happening, and very engaged instruction, and that's great to see. That was great to see. So tomorrow we're going to visit the middle school and high school to present that award to them. I want to say a big hooray to Mr. Small, who is a social studies teacher at Forest High School. He has been accepted to an institute this summer, June 21 to 26. He's going to attend the Supreme Court Summer Institute. Only 60 teachers nationwide have been, I know my face was like that too, have been selected for that. And so he says that this opportunity will give him time to study recent Supreme Court cases in detail, as well as innovative teaching methods to share that with his students. And he says, I really hope that when I come back, I can present workshops on teaching about this. Yes, we said. So thank you so much to him for thinking outside the box and doing that. And then also I wanted to say just a big hooray to Mr. Rembert at Maplewood Elementary. Mr. Rembert is the first-year principal out there, and I received a letter today from a mom at Maplewood. And as soon as I got done reading it with Paula, I said, I'm grabbing my keys and I'm heading out there to hand deliver this to him. This mom says that I know you probably receive a lot of negative comments because people seem to be more likely to complain than praise, but I want to praise and express appreciation. Then she bolds this next sentence. Mr. Rembert has been such an incredible blessing to Maplewood. And then as you see, she goes on with lots of detail about her grandson. She mentions things that he did, like quickly jumping into action to address her grandson's needs. And then she says that from day one this year at Maplewood, enthusiasm has grown. The teachers and the staff smiles are plentiful and their spirits have brightened. Many of the teachers have offered unsolicited expressions of how they feel supported, encouraged, and generally cared about by him, and he walks the walk. She goes on with more detail, but she said, most important, he shows his care about the people because he gives it as well as receives. receives it. So she was just overjoyed about that. So I wanted to share that because, yeah, he deserves that. And besides being a great principal, he is one of the finest human beings I've ever had the privilege to meet. It's graduation season. We've had 4 so far, and we're looking forward to finish them up this week. We want the public to know that we are watching the weather very, very closely, and that Dr. Grantham has assured that we will have information out early tomorrow afternoon about any plans with the weather. So it will be, Kevin will release that one way or the other tomorrow, but we are watching the weather very carefully. We know that families are coming in. We know that if we move things to a gym, that limits participation. So we're cautious, yet we want to be planful. So please watch for that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. A special administrative briefing and work session is scheduled for Thursday, May 31st, 2018 at 1 o'clock. The purpose of this work session is to receive Sheriff's Forest Height update. The next regularly scheduled administrative briefing and work session is scheduled for Thursday, June 7th, 2018 at 9 o'clock a.m. The purpose of this work session is to receive construction projects update, text a tip presentation, which I am very excited about and am very anxious for all of you to hear at this presentation, and hurricane briefing emergency management. Before addressing expulsions, I wish to acknowledge that board members have received the alternative placement list for students May 4th through 2018. Ms. Martinez-Lopez, are there any parents who have submitted a timely request to speak on their child's expulsion disciplinary matter?
No, ma'am.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve the expulsion of student JD 18-84, JD 18-85, JD 18-86, JD 18-87, JD 18-88E, JD 18-90, and JD 18-91 with educational services through the remainder of 2017-18 school year and the entire 2018-19 school year. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. James. Second. Seconded by Ms. King. There's no discussion. All those in favor, please vote aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the expulsion of student JD 18-89 without educational services through the remainder of the 2017-18 and entire 2018-19 school year?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. King.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. James. If there is no discussion, all those in favor, please vote aye, and opposed, like sign.
This is my hardest votes.
I know, me too. I understand. It is hard to do these votes. Motion passed 5-0. This concludes the televised and business portion of the meeting. In order to honor the request for an individual to address the board regarding a student disciplinary matter, I now call a brief recess while the televised portion is completed and the room is cleared to assure privacy of the student at 7:49 p.m.